Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today we're going to be talking about something for the Houston Rockets. You might be a little bit confused about the title and thinking, wait, I'm a Rockets fan. Why would I root for the San Antonio Spurs? Well, this could lead to the Houston Rockets landing a generational talent, and it's pretty obvious who that is, and that's Cooper Flagg. I think we all saw throughout the college basketball season and through the tournament, even though they did lose to, Houston's Cougs, Cooper Flagg has a lot of talent and will help an NBA team out a lot. And I think whoever gets this kid is going to instantly get better. And honestly, this might be that one of those type of draft picks where you see a guy go to a team and there are guys that want to go and play for that team. Like, in 2019, when Zion got drafted, there were some vets that went to New Orleans because they wanted to go play. Like J.J. Redick, funny enough, went to New Orleans because he wanted to go play with Zion. There have been veterans that have talked about how they want to go play with Victor Wembanyama. That's how much of a talent he is. And so the craziest thing happened for the Rockets tonight. Now, they did lose their own game against the Clippers, which, even though they lost, I see that as a good thing. The Rockets were resting their starters. I'm not too upset the Rockets lost because, number one, you're resting all your starters. And also, number two, you don't want the Clippers to fall in the play-in. You do not want the Clippers to fall to the 7 seed, which is possible, and then potentially have to play the Clippers, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Zubac in the first round. But that wasn't the best thing that happened for this Rockets team tonight. The best thing to happen for this Rockets team tonight was Harrison Barnes. And honestly, if the following things were to happen for the Rockets, Harrison Barnes might deserve a statue in the city of Houston. As a Rockets fan who dislikes the Spurs, maybe even with the Spurs jersey on it at Toyota Center if this happens. Because, obviously, we know the trade that happened last draft. The Rockets traded Brooklyn's draft picks to Phoenix, and it was a little bit questioned at the time what Rafael Stone was doing with this move when he traded the Nets picks for the Suns picks. But slowly we've started to see the Phoenix Suns this season fall apart as a franchise. And in all likelihood, you will see Kevin Durant get traded. Might not see Bradley Beal in a Suns uniform again. You have seen this Suns team just absolutely sink. And the Suns early on in the season, things weren't too bad for this Suns team early on in the season. And I know there were a lot of Rockets fans that were, thinking, this trade doesn't look stupid. This trade doesn't look good because the Nets are playing so terrible, and you got the Suns playing good, but then as the season went on, you start to see the Suns fall apart more and more. And that trade for Rafael Stone looks better and better. But, all right, currently, the Suns have the 9th worst record in the league. The Rockets have their draft pick this year. So the 9th worst record in the league gets you a 17% chance of a top 4 pick. And it's like 17.3. And a 3.8% chance of the top number 1. Now, the San Antonio Spurs have the 8th worst record in the league. Now, if you have the 8th worst record in the league, your chances of being in the top 4 go up from 17.3% to a little bit over 26%. And your chances of getting the number 1 overall pick go from the 3.8% I said to 6%. And keep in mind, you think 6% isn't good odds. Keep in mind, the Atlanta Hawks last year got the number 1 overall pick and drafted Zachary Richardson, and they had a 3% chance. Or when the Pelicans, funny enough, very similar situation because they drafted a Duke player when they got the number 1 overall pick in 2019. They were in the same position the Rockets could be in, had a 6% chance. Now, what needs to happen for the Rockets in order to get to the point where that percentage goes up from 3.8% to 6% and 17.3% to a little bit over 26%? Well, It starts off with what happened tonight. The Rockets needed the Suns to lose against the Thunder, even though Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was ruled out. And so that was going to be tougher for the Suns at home against the Thunder. No Shai. Thunder win by 13 points. They also needed the San Antonio Spurs. This was the hard part. On the road in San Francisco, second night of a back-to-back. No Wemby, no Fox, no Jeremy Sohan, other players missing to beat the Golden State Warriors, Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler. Keep in mind, Chris Paul did not play the entire fourth quarter. The San Antonio Spurs were trailing by quite a bit in the fourth quarter. But San Antonio, thanks to Keldon Johnson, who made a couple of shots to, and Stephon Castle, who made a couple of shots to, get the game closer. The Spurs tied the game up, 111-111, and Harrison Barnes hit the craziest three-point buzzer beater you'll see against his former team to win the game. And this kept the Rockets' hopes alive of moving their odds up in the draft. What do they need after this? They need the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs play the Phoenix Suns on Friday. They need the Spurs to beat the Suns. Spurs play the Raptors on Sunday. They need the Spurs to beat the Raptors. That's why I'll say, Rockets fans, we are becoming Spurs fans because the Rockets desperately need the Spurs to win Friday and Sunday against the Suns and against the Suns and the Raptors. But there's also one more thing. With the Suns, not only do you need the Suns to lose against the not against the Spurs, but you also need the Suns to lose against the Kings on Sunday. I don't think losing to the Kings will be a hard thing. Devin Booker, I don't think will play that last game of the season. I don't think losing to the Kings would be hard. All you really need is the Suns to lose against the Spurs, and then you need the Spurs to beat the Raptors, which those are two young teams. You never know what might happen last game of the season. So, and probably won't be no Chris Paul either. So, yeah, you need the Spurs to win their last two, Suns to lose their last two, and one of those matchups, the Suns and Spurs are playing each other. And if that happens, the Rockets' odds go up from top 4, 17.3% to 26%, top 1, 3.8% to 6%. Keep in mind, last year when the Rockets had Brooklyn's pick, it was the 9th worst pick in the draft. They had a 17% chance to get into the top 4. Those weren't great odds. They got the number 3rd overall pick and drafted Reed Shepherd. So good things happen in the lottery. And look, the way I see it is it could be a good thing for this Rockets team, even if you don't get Cooper Flagg. Let's just say in the world where, this turns out for the Rockets where maybe you don't get the number 1 overall pick, but you get, let's just say, 5, 4, or 3, and you're in the top 5. And you can use that as an asset to potentially trade to Phoenix for Kevin Durant, potentially. Because I'm sure Phoenix would be interested in having their pick back regardless in a potential Kevin Durant trade. But I think the pick has more value if it's at 8 or 9 or 7 compared to potentially being top 6, top 5, or even top 4. I think if it's number 1, obviously you're not going to see the Rockets trade the pick. You're going to see them draft Cooper Flagg. But potentially if it's not 1 or 2 and it's pick 3 or 4 or 5, you could see the Rockets try to send that to Phoenix for KD. And then if you do that, if you give Phoenix a top 5 pick, you don't have to send as many young players over for KD as well. And you can that can definitely keep your young core intact a little bit. So I hate the Spurs. I think if you're a Rockets fan and you don't hate the Spurs, there's something wrong with you. But I think if you're a Rockets fan and you see what's going on here and you don't root for the San Antonio Spurs over the next 2 games, there's also something wrong with you. So again, I'm going to say it. It's going to be painful, and at the end of the season, we're going to go back to hating each other. Let's go Spurs. And honestly, if the Spurs win their last 2 games and the Suns lose their last 2 games and the Rockets get Cooper Flagg, honestly, I think Spurs fans would probably be really, hurt that their team played a role in the Rockets, getting that. Which also it would be interesting. It would be interesting to see Cooper Flagg and Alperen Şengün and Amen Thompson versus Victor Wembanyama and Darian Fox and Stephon Castle for the years to come. That would be interesting. But I think if the Rockets, if this were to happen, if this is like a Hail Mary shot, need the Spurs to win out, Suns to lose out, then with a 6% chance, you need to get the number 1 overall pick. I think maybe Rockets fans and Spurs fans can, maybe have a truce, and I think Rockets fans maybe have more respect for the Spurs if this happens for us, and then I don't think they would have more respect for us because they would just be pissed. But I think it would be interesting. And if it does happen, like I said, Harrison Barnes deserves a statue in Houston if this were to happen, because I don't know if it's possible without his game-winning shot against the Golden State Warriors. It is not possible, because if he doesn't make that shot, in all honesty, if he doesn't make that shot, the game goes to overtime, and I think the Warriors pull out the W in overtime, and what we're talking about here doesn't happen. So let me know your thoughts on this, the whole rooting for the Spurs thing, but it would be a really good thing for the Rockets in the comment section, and peace out, go Rockets.